Good morning, everybody. So I will begin. So thank you very much for coming to today's Germany Kassel CSSG program info session. So we have students from the University of Guelph, Winnipeg, Calgary, Alberta, University of Toronto. So thank you so much for your time. All right. So we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So today's presenters, so my name is Elizabeth Milena Frenta, and I'm the Special Projects and Language Courses Coordinator. I also participated in the program, so CSSG twice in 2023 and 2024. We will also have Professor Hang Sun Kim. She's the Associate Chair of the undergraduate U of T Germanic Languages and Literature Department, as well as two student speakers. So Emma Levine, a 2025 CSSG participant, and Martin Mittelstedt. So he participated in 2024. So I just introduced the speakers. Then we will move on to the summer abroad overview, so you get a sense of what summer abroad is. Then I will speak about Germany Kassel, the CSSG program. Professor Hang Sun will make some remarks about the program, her anecdotal experience. Your student speakers will share with you what their experience was like. Then we will go through how to apply, and at the end we will have a Q&A. As you can notice, the chat box is not, so you cannot write questions into the chat. However, there is the Q&A function. So throughout the presentation, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A, and at the end we will have a live one. So any remaining questions I will answer. So this is our summer abroad postcard, and you can see the different locations that we offer. So in case, let's say, Kassel doesn't work out, you can always put, you have an alternative, a second option. So what is Summer Abroad? So Summer Abroad will be celebrating its 54th anniversary in 2026. Think of it basically like summer school, but instead of taking classes, let's say in Toronto or Calgary, you get to learn German in Germany. So most of our programs are 4 weeks. Kassel, however, is 7 weeks, and we will explain later why that is the case. For U of T students, you will earn a full year's arts and science credit, so it is not a transfer credit. In the case of Guelph, Winnipeg, Calgary, Alberta, it will be a transfer credit, so you do need a letter of permission. So the destinations, summer abroad, there are over 22, and it is taught by U of T and international instructors. So the difference between summer abroad programs and, like, for example, an exchange program is that instead of you being thrown to the wolves, going to, let's say, Germany and being taught by German, professors at the Humboldt University, we have our own professors, so U of T faculty or faculty from other Canadian universities that are going to be your professors. The same thing, you're not going to be in a class with international students from other countries, but your fellow students will be students from U of T and other Canadian universities. So it is a great way if you're thinking, I want to travel during the summer, but I also want to, get ahead on my school. So you want to fulfill program breadth or distribution requirements. So that's a great way to do this. The class sizes are much smaller for language courses. That is very much the case. And I think highlight or like a strong point of the program is that you have an on-site non-academic staff. This means, let's say you need to fulfill your prescription or refill your prescription, your medical prescription, or you don't know how the Deutschland ticket works. You got lost. These are people that are hired by us, and they're available to you 24/7. We will also provide a pre-departure orientation, meaning we might teach you some basic, German words or sentences that might be of use to you, and we explain everything so that you don't feel like you're being thrown into the deep end. So before you leave for Kassel, you're all set, you know how everything works. And safety abroad will also be discussed. So who is eligible for summer abroad more broadly? So U of T students, you have to be in good academic standing. So U of T students or faculty, students taking graduate programs, and U of T alumni. So in the case of Guelph, Winnipeg, Alberta, so these are students from other North American universities. So you do require a letter of permission. with like specifically to the CSSG program. So if so there are two courses that we will be offering this year, German 200 and 300. So if you're taking German 100, so 100 level courses, you will be eligible for the German 200 level. And if you're taking German language courses at the 200 level right now, then in summer 2026, you'll be eligible for German 300. So program overview. So this is the first year that U of T will be offering this program, the CSSG. So it was offered by St. Mary's in Nova Scotia, and then they handed over the baton to us. And so now it's our first year. However, the Canadian Summer School in Germany program, it's 52 years old. So since 1973, it has been operating. Purpose of the program, it's fully immersive. So 24/7, you're living in a host family, you're speaking German and listening to German speakers at all times. The program is taking place from Wednesday, May 6th to Wednesday, June 24th. It is 7 weeks. All classes are mandatory. Classes are taking place in Kassel, and they will be taught by U of T instructors and faculty from other Canadian universities. Here's the list. So the program activities, these are just a few of the examples of the program activities that you will have that you will be doing. So like the welcome dinner, Staatstheater Kassel, and so on. The overnight trips. So there will be two overnight trips. The Hanmünden, that is the orientation camp, and then Berlin. So as I mentioned, two language courses or language course levels that are available, German 200 and German 300. So when you're filling out your application, you either write, okay, I'm expected to be enrolled in German 200 or German 300. On completion of the 7 weeks, so for visiting students, that means students from other universities besides U of T, you will get a transfer credit in those 7 weeks. U of T students, you will get one full course arts and science credit. So class schedule, Monday to Friday, mornings, so you have classes from 9 to 12:30, then your classes end, and as a whole, we go to the Uni Mensa, so that's like the cafeteria. Of course, if you want, you can go elsewhere for food, but the Mensa has amazing and affordable food. Afternoons, this is when on some days there are presentations and activities, and then in the evenings, there are also activities, and of course, you do have free time. So accommodations. What's very specific to this program? Host families, meaning you will be living in a German family. This helps with language acquisition because let's say you're living in other programs, you could be living in a residence or hotel. That way, it is very easy for you to revert back to your mother tongue, to English. Like this, you come home and the first thing that, somebody asks you, what do you want for dinner? And in German. The same thing, you might be living, watching a Netflix series in German. Because they are Germans, your family, your host family, this will make sure that you are true to your word and you're speaking German at all times. It is a 24/7 language immersion. Youth hostel, so this is accommodation only on overnight trips. So when you're in Berlin or Hanmünden, you'll be staying in rooms 4 to 6, and it's usually you're there for 3 nights. So you do not have to worry about it, and this is an amazing way to get to know your students. Students from other Canadian universities. With regards to food, so when you're in Kassel, during the week, breakfast and dinner is provided by the host family, lunch is bought in the cafeteria, and on the weekends, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are provided by your host families. On the excursions, breakfasts and dinners, those you will eat in the youth hostels, and then lunch you'll buy in the city. So this is the general timeline. You fly in on May 6th. You have the orientation camp for 3 days. Then partly halfway through the program, June 10th to June 13th is Berlin. So that's the overnight excursion. And then you depart on June 24th. So now I will move, so the floor will be Hang Soon's and she will talk a bit about the program. Any questions that you might have, please ask her immediately after she's done presenting, or we can always ask, you can email her, but of course, Hang Soon Professor, she's very busy, so she will have to leave shortly after she's done speaking. So the floor is yours, Professor.
Okay, my name is Hang Kim, as Elizabeth said, and I'm the Associate Chair Undergrad of the German Department at U of T, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this info session. I'm especially delighted that the University of Toronto will be hosting this Kassel program for the first time, continuing a remarkable 52-year tradition. And I truly believe that this program offers a unique opportunity for university students across Canada to participate in a fully immersive language learning experience. And as the coordinator of the undergraduate program at U of T, I can tell you that I've been consistently impressed by the transformative impact this summer abroad experience has had on past participants. Because students live with host families, as Elizabeth mentioned, take intensive language classes, and engage in cultural excursions, their German skills improve at an astonishing pace, and they develop a deep, nuanced appreciation of German culture and everyday life there because you're also living with the host families. So I've heard from Lorraine that there have been some questions about why this particular program is 7 weeks long as opposed to 4. And for me, the answer is simple. And for those of you who have already been learning, not just German, but maybe also other foreign languages, you will know that language learning takes time. It takes time, and immersion is the key to fluency. So the extended duration allows students to achieve both linguistic fluency and cultural fluency, so linguistic proficiency and cultural fluency. And in fact, participants have returned with language skills far beyond what we typically see in classroom only learning. I've also spoken with many alumni of the Kassel program, and they often tell me that their time abroad didn't just improve their language skills, but it enriched their understanding of German literature, history, and culture. I just spoke with a student who had gone on the CSSG program last year, and he said it's amazing how much participation in the CSSG program expanded and built on the courses that he had taken in German before he left. And it really gave them experiences that were not only important academically, but also lent to their personal growth in a lasting way. Yeah, so I'm actually just really excited for you that you're considering this opportunity, and I think it'll be an extraordinary experience. And I'm open to questions at this point.
So if there are any questions in the Q&A, or feel free to write them down now, and the professor will be more than happy to answer them before she leaves. And if there are any other questions, you can always email us and we'll uh, connect you with the professor.
I think I saw a question earlier asked by somebody who said that they have, maybe you want to speak up if you asked this question in the Q&A, but it was about whether or not students who have only 1 year of undergraduate studies under their belt can participate in this program. And the answer I would imagine is yes. The most important thing to consider is that you have some beginner's German under your belt at this point so that you can continue to the intermediate level.
Well, if there aren't any questions, and the summer abroad staff, I'm sure are they're checking right now, but it seems that we're all good. Then thank you very much, Professor, and have a nice day, and we will continue then.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so just a quick overview of the program, the CSSG program, so Canadian Summer School in Germany. So as I mentioned, it's 52 years old. Here you can see on the left-hand side a newspaper from 1973, and it says Studenten aus Kanada treffen ein. That means Canadian students arrive. So you can see that it's very much a legacy. It was in the newspaper. On the right-hand side, you can see the different Canadian universities that have participated in this program in the past. Here we have so major studied by alumni. You can see it's very versatile. So it's not like we're all, German majors. These are people, students from that are studying a different variety of fields. You can see they pursue also very different careers. So it's a great way of, kind of branching out and meeting people from all over Canada in different fields. So now I will turn the floor to our first student speaker, Emma.
Hi, sorry. Okay, so I am a third year undergraduate student at U of T, and my major is music. I'm an opera singer. So my main motivation for taking CSSG was to be able to work in Europe. I also just, on a personal note, I think that speaking as many languages as possible is fantastic. I think it helps you as a person. It really improves your empathy. You learn a lot in learning, if that makes sense. So I think it's really good. You learn different frustrations. I think it makes you more empathetic to maybe people that are new to our country. I think it's just a great experience. I went with only having German 100. So it's kind of baptism by fire, but in the best way possible because you show up and they greet you at the airport. So you're safe. Like you have people whose faces you know, because keep in mind you're overwhelmed and tired and jet lagged and blah. But there's people that you know that you can like rely on. You get on a bus, you get to sleep. But right away the German starts, and it's really, really fantastic because you have to just start trying even when you're jet lagged and exhausted, and you would be surprised how quickly you pick it up. You hear them going through attendance, um and you hear John say habe ich, and right off the cuff you have a question of, why do they flip the verb and the subject? So it's just a really, really stimulating environment. As for the classes, a lot of people might think that it's a lot, like 3 hours, 3.5 hours a day. It is, but it needs to be. It's engaging, it's stimulating, and you are honestly working that whole time. But it's not like you're sitting in a chair for 3.5 hours and getting lectured. Like it's really, really engaging. It's active. You go to the Tor Cafe, and which is like the little cafe right near the church where we do our classes. And there's office hours. All of the teachers are like totally happy to answer questions, whether or not you're in their class. The Mensa is fun, and the local students think it's so cute that we're all learning German. So they're really, really understanding. And yeah, my biggest recommendation is to do your homework. I know this seems obvious, but it piles up really, really quickly. So you want to think of one day of class as a 1 week of homework back home. So like it's a lot. It's not unmanageable by any means, but it's definitely important to take that time, use your afternoon, get it done so that when you go home, you can have dinner with your host family, like freie Abend, like you can just chill. You can, play a game with your host family, which is what I would do every night. We would name everything on the table, the food, the cutlery, the plates, and we would go through and I'd point at something and I'd have to learn the article. So like you keep learning, but it's a different kind of learning. Yeah, I think doing your homework allows you to balance your time off with your family, with excursions, with your friends. Like you're gonna make a lot of friends in this program. You're all kind of just thrust into this program. So you make friends really, really quickly, and they're lasting friendships because you have this unique experience with each other. Um, as for learning beyond the classroom, I felt that I learned the most outside of the classroom, and that is not to discredit my teachers. My teachers were fantastic, but living in the environment and being surrounded by people, especially in a very multicultural city where you're engaging with people with different German speaking levels, it's really, really fantastic. So, like, I learned probably 90% of my German from my host family. I would go to class and we would have a grammar lecture, and then I would go home and I'd be like, so can we practice this? And my host family loved it. And so we would try like different, like telling us stories or like just whatever that would help me with my homework. They wouldn't help me with my actual homework, but they would really, really help me get it into my like daily speech. You also get to learn figures of speech. Chatting with people on the streetcar. I know it's daunting, but it's a really, really great way to learn. And ordering at the Tor Cafe, something that we don't think about when we are in a classroom setting, is I have to order food. I have to find the bathroom. I have to find where's water because there's not everywhere in Germany. Be warned, Canadians, there's not free water everywhere. Fill your water bottle. But like these are things that you don't think of, that it seems so natural in English that you might not have taken a second to review back home before you came. So it's stuff like that daily, that colloquial speech. Um, like combining S at the end of the word, like it'll make sense when you get there, and it's shocking how much you pick up. The host families for me were the absolute highlight. They were for all of my friends too. The matching system is fantastic. So I know a lot of us have heard like maybe some not so good stories about host families in the past. Don't have anxiety or have anxiety, obviously feel your feelings, but like I wouldn't be anxious about the matching system in this program. We all were very, very safe, and there was maybe one person with a problem, and within like 4 hours they were out of there. So it's really like it's a really safe space. All of the families have been with the program for a really long time. They're all really understanding, really helpful, and they enjoy it. Like they take pride in seeing their host daughter, son, child learn their language, right? And the other highlight for me were the tandem partners. So I don't know who will be doing it this year, but John used to do this. And they match you with a student at the University of Kassel. And essentially, you just have like a built-in friend. So I'm an opera singer and I love languages and I love art and obviously music because it's my major. And my tandem partner was a linguistics major who did opera as a hobby and loved going to museums. And we are still in touch. We are very good friends. We will be friends for life and we trade messages and cards. So like it's a really great matching system. And now I have like a buddy to practice my German with. So take those opportunities, those built-in like friends and family that the program gives you with your host family and your tandem partner, and really, really monopolize them because they're genuine people who have signed up to help you and like, you can also help them with their English. And it's really, really great. Anyways, I think that's all. But I'm happy to take questions if anybody has anything.
I believe that students, they'll be typing them in the Q&A. So if you have any specific questions for Emma, and at the end we can definitely do like a live Q&A. But thank you so much, Emma. And we will move to the next student speaker. So that will be Martine. So feel free to take the mic.
Oh. Elizabeth, it says that I can't turn the video on because you've blocked it. Oh, okay, there. Great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I participated in the Kassel program in the summer of 2024. Now, I have a German background or Hintergrund, as you might say, auf Deutsch. But it became highly assimilated into English, and I was worried that I would lose uh, what little or some of my remaining German if I didn't enter an immersion program. Um, in terms of my work background, you can see that I'm not a typical undergraduate student. I am retired. Got a journalism degree several years ago, or several decades ago, let's say, and I had the good fortune of working in the mainstream media at the tail end of I guess the great period in history for the mainstream media before the internet took over. Um, I had some initial thoughts when I was presented with this program um, 2 years ago about it. I'd never heard of, I'd heard of Kassel, but I didn't know anything about it. I was a bit nervous about living with a Gastfamilie. I thought, well, why not just live in a residence? I thought the cost, was skewed a little bit high. Obviously I'm on this program, so all of those things, all of those initial thoughts that I had or worries, in some ways, I totally overcame them. Like Emma spoke glowingly about her Gastfamilie, I did as well, or do as well. I'm still in touch with the family that I stayed with. I thought it was a key part of the immersion program. Kassel as a city it surprised me because it's a medium-sized German city of 200,000 people, but in many ways I thought it had uh, artistic and cultural amenities that rival Toronto, which is 15 times larger. Um, I thought the cost, while high, I did apply for the Stork scholarships that are offered through the University of Waterloo. Now, I'm a part-time student, so they only provided $500, but I think for the full-time students, they received $1,500, so that helped defray some of the cost. And of course, tuition expenditures are tax deductible, so that also reduces the cost quite a bit. There were things about the program that I really liked, and one of them was that we made this oath that we wouldn't speak English except in emergency situations. Um, I thought that one of the weaknesses of past immersion, if I was in a French immersion program before, we were in a residence, the participants tended to speak English with each other rather than French. Here, we had to make an explicit oath that we wouldn't do that. And I think by and large, almost everyone adhered to that almost all of the time. I feel that the course allowed me to make a major breakthrough in terms of my ability to speak German. I thought that it was valuable to be in Germany. Germany is, in terms of history of the 20th century, is, probably a key world historical country, or a country of great historical importance. Even though it's a country of only 80 million people, it has the world's third largest GDP. It is a country of, incredible innovation and commercial success. Um, I you I think that one of the other factors that I thought was really important is that it seemed for me to open up a sort of the culture or cultural doors of understanding German society far better than I had before. I can't, I speak, can't recommend it enough. I think that if you're on the fence wavering, I think yeah, do it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. And for sure, if there are any specific questions, feel free, students, to type it into the Q&A and we can answer those questions. So moving on, so as you heard, the benefits or Vorteile, so 7 weeks. So Professor Heng Sen, she explained it very well. I guess how I would explain it, when a program is 4 weeks, usually the first week you're trying to get a lay of the land. Second week, you're more familiar with how things work. Third week, you're already, culminatings, and then fourth week, you have your exam, and then off you go back home. Here, you get those extra 3 weeks. So let's say week 3, 4, 5, you really get a chance to just focus on the language acquisition. And it does take a long time to learn a language. And by the end of the program, by the end of the 7 weeks, you are dreaming in German. It really becomes second nature to you. So beyond the classroom learning, something as simple as you sitting on a tram and listening to a 4-year-old ramble, it's that's your living textbook. And you'd be surprised how even you passively listening to someone, you're constantly learning. And then, of course, if you're thinking more, what do I gain in terms of academic? You get a transfer credit, or U of T, you get one full course credit. Then travel. So with the program alone, you go to Hanmünden, Kassel, and Berlin. And of course, students, so on weekends, they also travel out to other German-speaking countries, or just nearby Kassel. It's always very nice to put on your resume. I've been in Kassel taking a German language program for 7 weeks. Many of us have gone on to, do careers that have something to do with German culture. And of course, lifelong friendships, as you have heard from Emma. So now a bit about Kassel. So it is, here you can see on the map, central Germany, 197,000, that's the population. Fun facts, Germany's fourth greenest city. So the Grimm brothers, they began writing their German dictionary in Kassel. There's a beautiful museum, the Grimmwelt. And of course, you'll be taking classes at Uni Kassel, so it's going to be on campus that you're going to be taking your classes, and this is the world's first renewable energy university. So getting there. There is no group flight. However, we will provide you with recommended flights. So we might say, okay, this flight might be the cheapest, but this flight might be a bit more expensive, but the travel times, you won't be en route for, let's say, 24 hours. Or so we will give those recommendations, but of course, feel free to select the flight that makes sense for you. Some of you might be traveling you might be traveling before you go onto this program, so you can always do whatever fits your schedule. So what is important though is that on May 6th, you have to be so either at Frankfurt Airport, this is where we will have a bus, and our on-site staff will pick you up. They will load you onto the bus and then you go off to the youth hostel. Of course, if you're not arriving at Frankfurt Airport, but let's say you're already in Germany, just meet at the youth hostel on May 6th. Transportation, so when you're moving from, let's say, class, so from your youth family house to your classes, then if you're close enough, you can walk. There's a beautiful park called the Orangerie, or you can. I used to bike. I love to bike, so I biked. Or there's, of course, you will get public transit passes. So before you apply, we do have FAQs on our Summer Abroad website, and you can go through all of this information so that you make sure that you cover all of these different considerations. EDIA. So this is anything, for example, if you're a student with a disability, let's say you're in a wheelchair and you want to know, okay, will there be ramps? How accessible is Germany? So there is also, we do have an EDIA site-specific EDIA. Or for example, I'm a woman. How do the youth hostels work? Will I be in a room with only women? So here we have the site-specific EDIA resources, and you can find that under EDI and accessibility. So Summer Abroad Inclusion, Diversity, and Excellence Award, this is something we highly recommend. This is only for U of T students. For students from other universities, please reach out to your Summer Abroad office or your International Experience office. They have different titles, and figure out if they have similar awards, such as the Summer Abroad Inclusion, Diversity, and Excellence Award. So if I now moving on to the application process. Applications open December 5th, which is next week, and application deadline is February 4th. So how do we select the participants? First of all, academic suitability. So we look at your grades. Second of all, we use Kira Talent. How it works, instead of you, let's say you're in Calgary, there's no way you're flying all the way to Toronto to do an in-person interview. So all of the participants, you're going to do an online interview. That means you get a prompt. Let's say it says, why do you want to do this program? You have a few minutes to prepare, then you press play, you record your answer to that question, and then it gets sent to us. The same thing with the written responses, read a prompt, few minutes to prepare, type up an answer, and then it gets sent to us. So it's done all online. You have to pay a 210 application fee. There is no refund. When doing the application, you submit one application. For the Kassel program, you would write down, so your first choice would be, so it would be Germany Kassel CSSG program. And then as your first choice, you always write down, so my expected level would be German 200 or German 300, depending on your prerequisites. And let's say Kassel doesn't work out, you can always put down an alternative. So you say, maybe I don't get into Kassel, but we do offer other programs in Berlin. So there is a culture course, for example, you could take, or there is a culture course in Paris, and you can apply to those as well in that one application. Students, U of T students, so if you get a Summer Abroad Award and you withdraw, you do not get a refund. This is what an application looks like. You create a Horizon student account, and then you have to fill out the following information. And this is like the first part, and then the second part is the Kira Talent. So admission decisions. Decisions will be sent in late February, early March. And of course, if government of Canada says we're not traveling, then of course, unfortunately, we can't go through with our program. When it comes to accepting an offer, for us to be certain that you're serious about participating or completing this program, you put down a 1,000 deposit, and it is non-refundable. You have a week to do so. We write it, hello, you're accepted, and then you have a week to send us that deposit. Remaining fees are due in March and April. Remember, in May, the program already starts. This is a tentative cost breakdown. So you can see you have the application fee. So that is the same for both domestic and international students. So that's the $210 non-refundable. Then you have the course fee. So this is what you're paying for your textbooks, for all of the classroom materials. You have U of T incidental fees, and then the accommodations. You can see there's accommodation and underneath field trips. So the field trips, that is the accommodation in the youth hostels. So when you're in Hanmünden or Berlin, that's the 1,205. The accommodation, the 2,600, that's for your host family in Kassel. Then you see airfare, once again, very dependent on which province you are from. So, for example, flight costs from Alberta might be more expensive than flight costs from, let's say, Ottawa. So that will vary depending on your province, and there you can see the tentative costs. Financial aid. So this is for U of T students. We have summer abroad awards once again for students from Calgary, Alberta. Alberta University does have a scholarship very specific to the CSSG program. Please do reach out to your German departments, to your summer abroad offices, and see if there are any scholarships, bursaries that you can access. Here are other ways to finance your trip. So OSAP. So if you're not from Ontario, I'm sure that each province has a way of helping students out. There are also student loans. So the former director of CSSG has said that student loans have been very successful in the past. So students, they do ask for student loans. You can also get a job. And U of T, so you have your own different colleges, scholarships, and the same thing, I'm assuming other universities also have maybe their college specific or department specific scholarships. Finances. So start budgeting now. Final payments will be due in March 2026. And once again, the same process goes for all universities. Check with your departments, your different colleges, faculties to see what scholarships, bursaries are out there. And there will be how to finance your summer abroad webinar in January. So visas and insurance, we will help you through this process in that we will provide supporting documentation, but you will have to write emails to the German consulate and they will provide you with a visa. So make sure to start the minute you get admitted and you say, okay, here's my $1,000 deposit and I'm doing this program. Make sure you really get on this because it does take some time to process. And if you have any, questions or you need help with anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Key dates. So application opens next week, Friday, December 5th, closes February 4th. Then the on-site key dates, this is once you're accepted. So recommended departure date, when you should leave your Canadian city. So Calgary, Toronto, Ottawa. So you leave on Tuesday, May 5th to arrive on Wednesday, May 6th. Then we have the orientation camp from Wednesday to Saturday. Then Berlin is halfway through the program. And then the Abschlussfeier or the goodbye dinner, that's Tuesday, June 23rd. And then departure date, this is when you're flying from Frankfurt and you're going back home. So Toronto, Calgary, Alberta, so on. If you have any questions, this is the email that I answer. So any question that gets sent to that email, I will try to answer as quickly as I possibly can. This is a very nice, concise timeline of the different deadlines and dates that you have to meet. And that is also on our on our Instagram and on our website. So if you have any further questions, you can always look at student testimonials, a lot of promotional materials that we have there, and you can learn a lot from that. And there's more information as well at U of T Abroad, and we will have more information sessions and so on. So that is it for me, is the cost breakdown. And a video will be posted of this, and I can see if we can get the slides posted as well. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. Then thank you very much. I'm going to end the webinar now. All right. Have a nice day. Bye.